Hello. Today's video is about how victims of narcissistic abuse have superpowers. I saw the most interesting conversation on television recently. In this particular scene, a young lady was speaking with an older lady. The young lady was deaf and discussing how things went when she began to lose her hearing when she was in her teens. She said she was afraid and angry, of course, but her older sister, being deaf, was her superpower. She learned how to adapt to this new life, which obviously was not easy. She also mentioned how people in their community were learning sign language, and that was all because of her. Immediately, I began to think of those of us who have survived narcissistic abuse. We have superpowers, too. We survived some pretty horrific stuff. Simply surviving narcissistic abuse definitely fits into the superpower category. Many people don't survive it. They end up committing suicide, and quite honestly, who can blame them? Like many others, I sure considered it plenty when I was going through it. We also not only survived, but we did so with our sanity and humanity intact. Narcissists pull out all the stops when they abuse their victims in an attempt to utterly destroy them. Surviving that without becoming angry or bitter or continuing the abuse is really impressive. Many people who survive narcissistic parents simply don't have the strength or courage to break the cycle of abuse, and they abuse their own children. Many of us also go on to talk openly about our painful experiences, and by doing so, help other people. We create awareness of narcissistic abuse, which is desperately needed. And we help other victims to learn what is happening to them when we discuss our experiences. I'm sure you remember how it was prior to learning about narcissism. You felt like you were going crazy. Maybe the narcissist was right. You were causing all the problems in the relationship and more. Learning about narcissistic personality disorder is incredibly freeing because you learn the narcissist is the problem, not you, like the narcissist said. By discussing your experiences openly, you're helping other people obtain that freedom. Also, by discussing narcissistic abuse, we're able to show others what does and doesn't work in not only dealing with narcissists, but in the healing process as well. Now, if you have CPTSD as a result of the narcissistic abuse, you aren't exempt from having superpowers. I know many who have it consider themselves weak or seriously flawed, but that's really not the case at all. You simply have a scar that shows yourself and others you survived some pretty horrific stuff. I know CPTSD is horrible. I live with it too. But living with something so painful and challenging is a superpower. And you know something else? By being open and honest about your struggles with CPTSD, you're helping others. You may help some people who may not yet realize they too have the disorder. They may hear of your struggles and realize this is what's been happening to them. While naturally nobody wants to be diagnosed with any illness, mental or physical, if you're suffering with symptoms and have no clue why, learning what is happening is just incredibly helpful. Having answers means you know what you're dealing with and you can find the way to treat them properly. Also, by discussing your symptoms openly and how you cope, you help others find ways to manage their symptoms they may not have considered. It can be so hard to come up with ideas to help yourself, especially when symptoms are flaring up. And that means learning what works and doesn't work for others can be extremely helpful. Please never ever forget you have superpowers. You survived some of the cruelest abuse a human can survive and are going on to help others. Those are really pretty impressive superpowers. That's amazing, and you should be very proud of yourself. Thank you for watching my video.